When we see a champion lifting a trophy, what we're really seeing is the final scene of a very, very long movie. We see the talent, the work, the glory, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath all that is this massive, complex, global machine that's designed to find, forge, and support these elite athletes. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain and see how the whole thing actually works.
So, how are sports champions really made? Well, it's so much more than just having natural talent or a crazy training schedule. It's about systems, it's about data, policy, and a journey that starts years, sometimes decades, before anyone even utters the word prospect.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to follow this entire athlete's journey, starting right at the beginning, at the foundation of just playing. Then we'll get into the high-tech search for talent, how they forge an elite athlete, the two different worlds of pro sports they can enter, the national machines that back them, and finally, we'll take a peek at where this whole game is headed. First things first, the foundation. You just can't build a tiny little peak of world-class champions without a huge, massive base of people just playing. Playing because it's fun. I mean, for every single professional you see on TV, there are millions of kids out there in parks and schoolyards. That's where it all has to start. And the absolute bedrock of that huge pyramid is this concept called physical literacy. Now, this isn't about being amazing at one specific sport from age 5. No. It's about developing the basic building blocks, the motivation, the confidence, the actual physical competence, and just the desire to be active for your whole life. This is the absolute non-negotiable starting point. And here is how that's built, systematically. Modern development frameworks start with these 3 stages. And notice the focus here. From the time you're born until you're about 12, it is all about play, fun, and getting good at a whole bunch of different skills. It's not about intense early specialization. The idea is you have to build the athlete before you can build the specialist. Okay, so once that foundation is in place, the search for those with elite potential really kicks into gear. But that old school image of a scout with a clipboard and a gut feeling, well, that's being completely transformed. So on one side, you have traditional scouting. It's kind of like an art form, right? They're looking for those intangibles like character and grit, but it's totally limited by where a scout can physically be and who they happen to see on a good day. But on the other side, you have data-driven scouting. This uses AI, computer vision to analyze drills with total objectivity. A kid in a small town in Brazil can be judged on the exact same metrics as a kid at a top academy in Germany. It aims to make the whole process fair and global. This quote just drives that point home. It's about a young soccer player who lived just down the street from a world-famous academy. The traditional system completely missed him, but an AI scouting app found him. He ended up getting a trial with Chelsea and played for his national team. It's a total game changer for finding those hidden gems. So why do the old systems miss so much talent? Well, one of the biggest reasons is something called the relative age effect. Just look at this data. In the under 8 group, almost 41% of the athletes were born in the first 3 months of the year. Only 11% were born in the last 3 months. Why? Simple. In the same age group, the kid born in January is almost a full year older than the kid born in December. At age 7, that's a massive physical advantage. We end up selecting the early bloomers and lose a huge chunk of talent just because of when their birthday is.
All right, so let's say you've been identified. The system found you. That's awesome, but it's really just the first step on a very long, very structured road to becoming a pro.
And this is basically what that road looks like. After those fun foundational stages, athletes who show promise enter what's called the Podium pathway. And this is where it gets serious. Train to compete is for folks on national development squads. And train to win? Well, that's reserved for the absolute cream of the crop, the ones with a real shot at a world or Olympic medal. And I love this last stage, active for life, which makes sure that even if you don't make it to the podium, there's a place for you in sport for the rest of your life. And you gotta remember, none of this happens in a vacuum. A champion athlete is the end product of an entire ecosystem. You need certified coaches who are trained for specific age groups. You need officials who understand they're not just rule enforcers, but are actually part of the development process. And you need sharp administrators to manage the whole thing. It really does take a village of professionals.
So, you've made it through the pipeline. You've reached the top. Now you enter the world of professional sports. And that world, for the most part, is split into 2 very different universes.
Over in North America, you've got the closed franchise model. Think NFL, NBA. A set number of teams, they own their city, and there is zero threat of ever getting kicked out of the league, no matter how badly you perform.
Contrast that with the European model, which you see in most soccer leagues. It's an open pyramid. Teams can fight their way up to a higher league, or, if they fail, get relegated down to a lower one. This threat of promotion and relegation creates a completely different kind of pressure and excitement. Okay, let's zoom out one more time to the biggest picture. How is it that certain countries are just dominant, consistently topping the medal tables at the Olympics? It is not an accident. It's the result of very deliberate national strategy. Researchers have actually identified these 9 key pillars for national sporting success. And it's everything you can think of: money, great organization, world-class facilities, coaching, but also things like scientific research and support for athletes after their careers are over. And look, right there in the middle, mass sport participation. It all comes back to that base of the pyramid. A country that invests strategically across all 9 of these is literally building a machine to produce champions. So, after taking this entire journey from the playground all the way to the podium, what's next? What does the future of creating champions actually look like?
It seems to boil down to 3 big things. First, data and AI are going to be integrated into everything, making talent ID more efficient and objective than ever before. Second, there's a growing and much-needed focus on long-term athlete welfare, moving away from that win-at-all-costs mentality that burns kids out. And third, this whole system is just going to keep getting more and more global, breaking down old geographic barriers to finding talent.
But as these amazing, efficient systems get better and better at spotting potential, maybe even from the cradle, it forces us to ask a really critical question. Who is responsible for protecting the human being inside the athlete? Who makes sure that the fun from that fundamentals stage doesn't get totally lost in a sea of data points and performance metrics? That, right there, is the big challenge for the future of the game.